Have you ever reached the end of the month, checked your bank account, and had that moment where you just stare at the number like it personally insulted you? You had plans. You had a budget. You really thought you were being responsible this month. You didn't go on some huge shopping spree. You didn't book a last-minute flight to another country. You didn't buy anything outrageous. Everything felt normal, reasonable, manageable, and yet somehow you are sitting there wondering where the entire month's worth of money disappeared. It's a weird kind of panic. Not the "I'm broke because I bought something big" panic. No, this is the "how did I get destroyed by normal life" panic. It feels like waking up after a night you don't remember, except the hangover is financial. Here's the thing nobody ever talks about. Most people aren't going broke because of big purchases. They're going broke because of tiny habits that feel harmless. Little financial leaks that don't make noise. Quiet spending. The kind that doesn't register in your brain as spending because it's disguised as daily convenience, minor upgrades, and autopilot decisions. These small choices add up faster than any of us want to admit. And by the time you realize what's happening, the month is over and you are wondering why your hard work never seems to show up in your bank account. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. Because if you're tired of feeling like every paycheck evaporates the moment it arrives, you need to hear this. Stay with me, because this one hits close to home for almost everybody. Point 1. The first quiet habit that destroys your month is what I call the just this once purchase. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That moment where you think you're being responsible, but then you go, well, just this once. A coffee on the way to work? Just this once. Ordering delivery instead of cooking? Just this once. Upgrading to express shipping because you want it sooner? Just this once. Except it's never just once. It becomes a lifestyle, a routine, a soothing lie that costs you 20 here, 40 there, 50 somewhere else. Real life example. You order delivery because you're tired. $25. You go out for lunch the next day because you forgot to meal prep. $14. You grab a specialty coffee because you need a boost. $7. None of these feel like financial decisions. They feel like survival, emotional consequence. By the end of the month, you're staring at your bank account wondering why you feel broke even though you didn't buy anything big. Point 2. The second quiet habit is subscriptions you forgot existed but your bank did not. This is where it gets interesting because companies have figured out the psychology of human laziness better than anyone. They know that if they charge you $10 a month, you won't notice. They know you'll see the charge come through, raise an eyebrow, and think, I should cancel that. But then you'll go back to whatever you were doing because canceling requires actual effort and a password you definitely don't remember. And they're counting on that. Real life example, you sign up for a 7-day free trial of a new workout app because you're feeling motivated. You forget about it the second the week ends. 30 days later, you are paying $20 a month for something you didn't even remember downloading. Then you've got the streaming services, the second streaming service, the third streaming service that only has one show you like but you keep it anyway, and that other random subscription you forgot existed but apparently still bills you faithfully like it's your landlord. Emotional consequence. You're paying for entertainment you don't even consume while convincing yourself you're saving money by not going out. Companies don't need you to love their product. They just need you to forget you're paying for it. Point 3. The third quiet habit is convenience creep. This one sneaks up on people so slowly that by the time they notice, their cost of living has doubled without their income changing at all. Convenience creep happens when you slowly outsource your entire life because everything feels hard. You stop cooking because delivery is easier. You stop cleaning because subscriptions exist for that. You stop planning because subscription refills deliver automatically. Real life example. You start using grocery delivery for the convenience. It costs $10 extra each time. Then you add meal kits because you don't feel like figuring out recipes. That's another $80 per week. Then you subscribe to cleaning supplies that show up automatically whether you need them or not. That's $20. Emotional consequence. Your cost of convenience eventually reaches a point where it becomes a bill bigger than your electric bill. Punchline. Convenience is great until you realize you accidentally hired an entire staff. Point 4. The fourth quiet habit is micro lifestyle upgrades disguised as necessities. Most people don't wake up and go, I'm upgrading my lifestyle today. No, it's more like you buy the nicer coffee because you deserve it. You get the upgraded seat because it's only $20 extra. You add an appetizer because you're hungry. You buy the slightly nicer jacket because the cheap one didn't feel right. Real life example. You go out to dinner. You choose a dish that's $3 more because it looks better. Then you add a drink because everyone else did. Then someone orders dessert and you think, sure, why not? Suddenly, a meal that should have cost $15 is now $45. You didn't intend to splurge. It just happened. Emotional consequence. You walk out feeling like you made reasonable choices, but your bank account disagrees. Lifestyle creep doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in wearing a friendly smile. Point 5. The fifth quiet habit is upgrade addiction. This is the part nobody talks about. Every year, everything you own gets slightly worse in your mind because companies release a slightly better version. A new phone, a new laptop, a new tablet, a new smartwatch. And they present it with such dramatic music and shiny lighting that you start questioning your perfectly functional device like it personally betrayed you. Real life example, your phone works perfectly fine. It takes pictures, it loads apps, it calls people. But then the new model comes out and suddenly yours feels slow, even though nothing changed except your perception. The marketing isn't just convincing you that the new phone is better. It's convincing you that you're falling behind if you don't buy it. And that is where upgrade addiction gets you. You walk into the store thinking you'll just look. You walk out financing a $1,000 device you didn't need. And you don't buy the full phone. Of course not. You finance it because paying $40 a month feels harmless. Until you remember you're still paying for the last upgrade you bought 2 years ago. Emotional consequence. You feel modern while your bank account feels exhausted. You feel high-tech while your savings feel low-power mode. Punchline. If your phone still turns on, upgrades are not emergencies. They're just very expensive impulses wearing premium packaging. Point 6. The sixth quiet habit is emotional shopping, also known as therapy with shipping confirmation. This one hits almost everyone because it doesn't feel like spending. It feels like relief. You've had a rough day. Or you're bored. Or stressed. Or annoyed. You open an app. You scroll. Something looks nice. Something feels comforting. Something promises to fix a tiny, imaginary inconvenience in your life. And before you even think, you tap buy now because that little dopamine hit feels like someone handing you a warm blanket for your brain. Real life example. You buy a new water bottle because your old one wasn't motivating you enough. Even though water tastes exactly the same. You buy another hoodie because it looks comfy, and maybe if you wear it, your problems will feel softer. You buy that cute little home organizer that solves a problem you didn't even have until a TikTok creator whispered, "This will change your life." And suddenly, you are convinced you can't live without it. Emotional consequence. You feel better for 20 minutes. Then the package arrives and the spell breaks. You open it and immediately feel guilty, confused, and somehow still disorganized. The hoodie is just another hoodie. The organizer doesn't magically fix your life. The water bottle isn't suddenly transforming you into a hydrated productivity god. If your mood changes more than your net worth, it wasn't a purchase. It was a coping mechanism wearing a tracking number. Point 7. The seventh quiet habit is what I call the invisible tip economy. Stay with me. Tipping culture has gone through the roof, and I'm not anti-tip. But companies have turned tipping into a psychological trap that preys on your sense of guilt, politeness, and social anxiety. Now you get a tip prompt for everything. Buying a muffin, buying a bottle of water, buying socks at a pop-up shop where the employee never even looked up from their phone. You tap the screen to pay, and suddenly you are staring at 15%, 18%, 22%, like you are about to negotiate a hostage situation instead of paying for a granola bar. Real life example, you buy lunch. The machine spins around like it's presenting you with a life-changing decision. You panic because someone might be watching from behind the counter even though they absolutely do not care. You tap 20% so you don't feel like a monster. And the worst part? You didn't actually decide to tip. You reacted. Reflexively, automatically. Because it felt easier to give away your money than deal with the awkwardness of hitting no tip. Emotional consequence. You walk away feeling weird. Like you just performed a social ritual you didn't even agree to. Like you paid a tax for being watched, but your bank account feels it. All those tiny guilt tips stack up fast. Point 8. The eighth quiet habit is price blindness. A slow, almost invisible drift into accepting whatever number a shelf, tag, or checkout screen presents, and it begins the moment you stop asking the tiny but powerful question, how much does this actually cost? At first, it feels efficient, even adult grabbing the same items you've always bought, trusting that nothing could have changed too drastically, but companies rely on exactly that, trust, slipping in quiet price jumps knowing most people are too distracted, too rushed, or too tired to challenge a familiar purchase. Imagine walking into the store for that shampoo you've bought for years, the bottle you can spot from across the aisle. Last year it was $7, and now it's $11. But because the bottle hasn't changed and the routine feels automatic, the difference vanishes from your awareness. Over dozens of purchases, dozens of tiny price shifts, the gap widens, and while no single increase feels dramatic, the cumulative effect becomes a silent siphon on your budget. Emotionally, price blindness creates a false sense of stability, a comforting illusion that your routines are safe from outside pressures, but comfort becomes costly when inflation uses that very numbness to drain you, reminding you only later when money feels tight and you can't quite explain why that ease always carries a hidden monthly fee. The ninth quiet habit is the autopilot grocery run, that half-day's shuffle through fluorescent aisles where you enter without intention and let impulse do the driving because you're hungry, drained, or just trying to get the errand over with. And this is where things start to unravel without you even noticing. Instead of choosing deliberately, you toss produce into the cart because you imagine a healthier version of yourself eating it later, even though you know you won't touch half of it before it wilts. And you grab snacks you didn't intend to buy simply because they were at eye level, or because stress makes anything crunchy feel like an emotional life raft. You pick up a couple of bottled drinks, not out of thirst, but because the design whispers that you've earned a treat after a long day. And it all feels harmless until you unload the fridge a week later and realize how much of that good intention has spoiled untouched. The emotional sting hits when wasted food becomes wasted money, and wasted money becomes the weight of wasted potential. A reminder that the grocery store itself isn't the villain here. It's walking in without a plan that quietly drains your wallet while convincing you it's just the cost of living. Point 10. The 10th quiet habit is the friend tax. You know exactly what this is. Your friends invite you out. You don't want to be the broke one, so you say yes when you shouldn't. Real life example. You agree to brunch, $30. Then someone suggests drinks after, $40. Then someone wants to walk around a store, $20 more. Emotional consequence. You go home feeling socially included but financially wrecked. Punchline. Your wallet shouldn't be paying your social insecurities. Point 11. The 11th quiet habit is procrastination spending. This one hits people hard because it hides behind the illusion of "I'll handle it later," which is basically the financial equivalent of lighting a candle next to a pile of fireworks and hoping for the best. You put things off until the last minute and end up paying more because you didn't plan ahead. And the universe loves punishing procrastination with a fee. Real life example. You forget someone's birthday. You didn't mean to. You just kept pushing buy gift into the next day and the next day until suddenly it's tomorrow. Now you're awkwardly overnighting a gift for an extra $15 because guilt doesn't shop early, or you forget to pay a bill. Not because you don't have the money, but because life is chaotic and you convinced yourself you'd do it later. Now you're paying a late fee, extra $20 for absolutely no benefit. Multiply this by a few events a month, and suddenly procrastination costs more than your actual bills. Emotional consequence. You're not just paying for the item, you're paying for the chaos you created. You're paying for stress, for delay, for the mental load you pretended didn't exist. Procrastination has a price tag, and it's always higher than what you were avoiding. The 12th quiet habit is letting small treats harden into identity, a slow slide from the occasional indulgence into a ritual you defend as self-care even when it quietly drains your bank account. Because somewhere along the way, treat yourself stopped being a playful reminder and mutated into a license to soothe every emotion with a purchase. It begins innocently grabbing a little something after work because surviving the day feels worthy of celebration, then repeats on the weekend because rest feels earned, and again on payday because feeling good deserves reinforcement. And before you realize it, the treats aren't occasional rewards, but emotional coping mechanisms dressed in cute packaging. The danger isn't the latte or the pastry or the fancy drink. It's the moment you start believing comfort must be bought, that spending is the fastest route to feeling okay, and that you deserve a reward for simply existing in a stressful world. Over time, this attachment rewires your sense of relief so thoroughly that skipping the treat feels like deprivation, and indulging feels like returning to who you are, which is exactly how a habit becomes a personality trait. The harsh truth is that a treat stops being a treat the moment it becomes routine. At that point, it's just another bill camouflaged with sprinkles, quietly charging you every time you need to feel better. Look, the problem isn't that you're irresponsible. The problem is that spending has become so automated, so normalized, and so frictionless that you barely register what you're doing. Quiet spending is engineered to feel invisible. Companies design it that way. Little prices, add-ons, upsells, subscriptions, convenience fees, upgrade prompts, tipping screens, emotional triggers, lifestyle creep disguised as self-care. By the end of the month, you're drained, not because you splurged, but because 100 small choices bled you dry, and none of them felt dangerous. But here's the shift. Once you start noticing these habits, everything changes. You see the patterns, you see the traps, you recognize the emotional spending before it happens. You catch lifestyle creep early. You unsubscribe from things you don't use. You buy intentionally instead of reactively. You stop trying to soothe stress with spending. You stop leaking money into the cracks of your habits. And suddenly, your month feels different, calmer, less chaotic, more predictable. You don't need to become extreme. You don't need to stop living. You just need awareness. Quiet habits can wreck your month, but they can also build your month. The difference is intention. And at the end of the day, you don't need to look rich. You need to stop being stressed.